So we're talking about the nucleus, the brain of the cell. So first we are looking at the structure of the nucleus. Structure of the nucleus, this entirety of the structure of the nucleus. When you look closely, you see these small gaps. These small gaps are the nuclear pores. They are called the nuclear pores. Then we have these membrane type. It's called the nuclear envelope. Alright. Then we have this red structure, which in reality it is not red, but I have drawn it red. So it is called the chromatin. Right? This thread-like structure. When we say the nucleus has a thread-like structure, this is what is present. It's called chromatin. It's called chromatin. Then we have these two other structures. You can see their name as well. Alright. This is the labeling of the entirety of the nucleus of the brain. So this is the structure, how it looks like. You may be asked in the exam. Alright. Then we have these few pointers about the nucleus. First, nucleus controls all the cellular activities of the cell. Alright. The nucleus controls all the cellular activities of the cell. Alright. You should know all of that. That it is the brain of the cell, it controls all the cellular activities. The second point, the nucleus contains genetic material. The nucleus contains genetic material which is passed on from generation to generation. Which is passed on from generation to generation. You understand that? What does that mean from generation to generation? That your parent's DNA, your maternal DNA, your paternal DNA which is in you, which is passed on from generation to generation. We are going to study this in detail in the future as a syllabus progress. Now the second topic is the membrane. Membrane is a cell membrane and cell wall. There are two types of membrane, cell membrane and cell wall. So first we are going to talk about the cell membrane. Alright. The cell membrane is present in all types of cell. Cell membrane is present in all types of cells. Alright. Second, this membrane surrounds the protoplasm. Right, this membrane surrounds the protoplasm. As we looked at this in our other classes, we talked about the protoplasm in our first class, which was about cell. Here we have the cell. We talked about that this entire structure is all protoplasm. Right, this is all protoplasm. Alright, let's get back to our topic. As we were talking about, it is the outermost membrane in animal cell. Alright, first we talked about it, that it's present in all types of cells. Then this membrane surrounds the protoplasm, outermost membrane in animal cell. It's the outermost membrane in animal cell. So if you see here, this is the cell membrane, you can see. So this is the nucleus and these are all the structures. So this is the cell membrane. In animal cell, the only structure, the only cell membrane, it is present outermost membrane. Alright. Now we are talking about the cell membrane, so we will also learn that what kind of material it is made up of, how it acts like. So a cell membrane is soft and flaccid. Right? The cell membrane is not hard, it's flaccid, it's soft. Alright? Like a bubble, like a balloon. Alright. Then we have what is it made up of? It is made up of lipids and proteins. What is it made up of? It is made up of lipids and proteins. It is made up of lipids and proteins. It is made up of lipids and proteins. You have to remember all of this, as you can be asked what does that mean. Alright, then we are going to talk about this in more detail. The partially permeable membrane. The partially permeable membrane. The cell membrane is a partially permeable membrane. Alright. When we are going to talk about diffusion, osmosis, we are going to learn that partially permeable membrane is of key importance there. Now we are going to talk about cell wall. So the cell wall, alright, this is the cell wall. So we know cell wall is present in plants, alright. But in plants, you will always find both the cell membrane and the cell wall, right? Plants, you will find both the cell membrane and the cell wall. That's how it is. So in exam, if the examiner asks you something which is only present in the plants, alright, so they ask you that, and there are option of cell membrane, cell wall, and other types of options, so you will pick cell wall, right? But in cell plants, cell wall and cell membrane both are present. Now, the cell wall present in all types of cell except animal cell. The cell wall is not present in animal cell, as we have already talked about it. Cell wall is not present in animal cells. That's a fact, or we cannot change that. Now, this membrane is present outer to cell membrane. So we talked about that. So if you are saying that this is our cell, this is our cell wall, this is the cell wall, alright, this is the vacuole, as we have studied in our previous sessions. This is the vacuole. Now we can see this is the nucleus. So there's another layer, this you can see over here. This is the cell membrane. And it is present in all types of cell except animal cell. Alright, except animal cell, present in all types of cell. Now we talked about the cell membrane is a really soft and flaccid membrane, right? But the cell wall is a rigid and tough membrane. Alright, when we're gonna talk about in our next chapters, we're gonna learn about hypertonic, hypotonic, isotonic situations in which cells are put in to see what happens. So the cell wall plays a really crucial part in that. So you should remember that a cell wall is always rigid and tough. Rigid and tough. Alright, now we're going to talk about, when we talked about that the cell membrane is made up of lipids and proteins, the cell wall is, if it is a plant cell wall, it's made up of cellulose. If it's a bacteria cell wall, it's made up of peptide, alright, a peptide oil. Alright, then if it is a fungi, it is made up of chitin. Alright, now we're going to talk about the roles of these membranes. Right? First we're going to talk about the cell membrane. Alright, so the cell membrane is responsible for the transport across the cell. Alright, responsible for transport across the cell, across the cell, across the cell. Alright, now the second feature, transporting material, you know, all the organelles, not the organs, organelles. Now we are talking about its flexibility. We talked about it is flaccid and soft. So it provides flexibility and shape of the cell. Flexibility and shape of the cell. You understand that? Now we're going to talk about the plants. So the plants acts as a frame. Alright, the plant acts as a frame. If you have seen a frame in your house, it helps to maintain the shape of the cell. The plant cell also helps to maintain the shape of the cell. Alright, maintain the shape of the cell. If the examiner asks you, due to its rigid nature, provides support and prevents cell from bursting and collapsing. These two words are the highlighted words. These two are the important words: bursting and collapsing. Right? It's so hard, it's so strong that it helps the plant from bursting and collapsing. If the water in the plant increases, then the cell wall will not burst. If the water in a cell wall increases, I will also draw this. So if this is a cell wall, if water fills in, right, water is in this, water gets in the cell, right? This is, you can understand that this is all water, right? All of this is water, premium quality water. Alright, so now you know that it will never burst, never ever. In our next topic we're gonna study something else from the next, as we talked in our orientation class, that we have not completed diffusion and osmosis. In the next class we will be doing diffusion and osmosis. Alright, so that's it for today. Allah Hafiz.